/humanize/ Canadians losing patience. Carney's promises crumble as time runs out for change. When Mark Carney stepped into the Prime Minister's office following the Liberal Party's snap election win on April 28, 2025, there was a noticeable air of relief and anticipation. Voters, exhausted by the Trudeau era, clung to Carney's promise of competence, transparency, and stability. A former central banker with an international reputation, he brought with him the aura of a problem solver, someone who could finally fix Canada's economic and political drift. But just months into his leadership, the ground beneath his carefully curated image is beginning to crack. Canadians are no longer content with promises, they want delivery. And they want it now. In the early days, Carney moved quickly. He repealed the carbon tax for consumers, pledged to bring inflation under control, and laid out a framework for tax relief and business growth. His message was clear: this government would be different. Pragmatic, disciplined, and data-driven. He positioned himself as a man of action, untainted by partisanship and unconcerned with theatrics. Yet as the days rolled on and the headlines faded, Canadians started to wonder whether these announcements would translate into measurable change in their daily lives. For many, they haven't. The mood on the ground has grown increasingly tense. Inflation may have stabilized statistically, but groceries are still unaffordable for countless families. Rent and mortgages remain astronomical, with little sign of structural reform in housing. Energy prices are creeping back up, and concerns over supply and infrastructure remain unresolved. People feel that the system is still tilted against them, and many who once believed Carney was the adult in the room are now questioning whether he understands the urgency of their struggles. Across provinces, the sentiment is the same. Time is running out, and so is patience. In Parliament, opposition leaders have not let up. Pierre Poilievre has continued his sharp critiques, accusing Carney of being more interested in pleasing global elites than fixing the affordability crisis at home. He's labeled Carney as Trudeau 2.0 in a suit, polished, controlled, and completely disconnected from ordinary Canadians. Meanwhile, Yves-François Blanchet and Jagmeet Singh have each voiced concerns about the government's vague timelines and lack of concrete progress. Despite being new to politics, Carney finds himself cornered, surrounded by veteran politicians who smell blood in the water. Carney's performance during the federal leaders' debate was calm, articulate, and collected, but it lacked the emotional resonance needed to inspire a struggling electorate. His background in banking showed through in every answer, clear, calculated, and clinical. But voters don't just want a manager. They want someone who feels their pain. That sense of detachment has only grown in the weeks following the debate. While Carney has continued to hold press conferences and town halls, critics argue that they are overly scripted and light on specifics. The perception that his government is all talk and no action is taking root. In provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan, the feeling of neglect is intensifying. Carney has delayed key decisions on energy infrastructure and pipelines, triggering frustration from provincial leaders and workers who see the federal government as hostile to their economic survival. Promises to modernize Canada's energy industry have been met with skepticism, especially in regions that rely heavily on oil and gas for jobs. The West, once open to Carney's centrist pragmatism, is rapidly retreating into a defensive posture, aligning itself once more with the Conservatives in hopes of protection from what they see as liberal indifference. Even in traditionally liberal strongholds like Ontario and Quebec, cracks are beginning to appear. While Carney maintains an image of fiscal discipline, delays in passing the federal budget and a lack of new spending on infrastructure are raising eyebrows. Mayors are complaining of stalled funding, and social service advocates say they were promised quicker rollouts of housing and mental health supports. As timelines stretch and priorities shift, the disconnect between Ottawa's messaging and local realities becomes more glaring. Voters don't want another blueprint. They want shovels in the ground and bills paid on time. Adding to Carney's political headaches is a growing sense of unease among young Canadians. Many voted Liberal to block a Conservative win, hoping Carney would deliver stability without sacrificing progressive values. Instead, they see a government that's too cautious, too focused on balancing the books and unwilling to take bold steps on climate, tuition, and equity. With the NDP faltering and the Greens nearly invisible, a segment of the population feels politically homeless. Carney's attempt to occupy the middle ground has left both the left and right flanks disillusioned. Supporters argue that Carney is playing the long game, that his measured pace is necessary to repair years of liberal mismanagement and international volatility. They say his discipline will pay off in time, as major reforms require careful planning. But in politics, perception is often reality. And the current perception is that he's moving too slowly, hiding behind bureaucracy, while Canadians grow more desperate. His government's communication strategy, focused on calm competence, may be backfiring in a climate where people crave urgency and bold direction. If Carney is to turn the tide, he must act quickly and visibly. That means rolling out the federal budget with clear funding for housing, transportation, and energy. It means empowering provinces to move forward on their priorities without federal micromanagement. It also requires connecting with Canadians emotionally, showing them that he hears their anxiety and is prepared to confront hard choices head-on. Failure to do so will not only weaken his minority government, it could make his leadership untenable within his own party. Canadians were willing to give Carney a chance because they were tired of chaos and division. They wanted a leader who could unite the country and restore trust in public institutions. But trust, once given, must be earned again and again through action. If this government continues to delay or dilute its promises, it risks being defined not by ambition, but by avoidance. With a fragile mandate and a volatile electorate, Carney doesn't have the luxury of learning on the job. What happens next will define not just his legacy, but the future direction of Canadian politics. Will Carney adapt and respond, or will he double down on a strategy that no longer resonates? Canadians are watching and waiting, but they won't wait forever. The countdown has begun, and the appetite for excuses has worn thin. For Mark Carney, the time for promises has passed. Now, only results matter.